They bombed Earth's colonies. Now humanity's giants are awake. Part 1. The morning sky above Nova Prime was clear and blue when the ships appeared. Frank Miller looked up from his work on the colony's power grid and froze. Black shapes hung in the sky where nothing had been moments before. "Hey, did anyone schedule supply drops today?" Frank called to his team. No one answered. They all stared upward at the 7 massive vessels that now blocked the sun. Frank felt a chill run down his spine. Those weren't human ships. The colony's alert system remained silent, which made no sense. Any unscheduled arrival should have triggered warnings across the settlement. "Everyone inside," Frank said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Now." The first blast hit before they could move. A beam of intense purple light struck the colony's communications tower, vaporizing it instantly. The sound reached them seconds later, a thunderous crack that shook the ground beneath their feet. People ran in all directions as more beams sliced through buildings and streets. Frank sprinted toward the emergency bunker, dodging falling debris. The colony, home to 15,000 people, was being torn apart in minutes. Inside the backup communications room, Frank found the system still working. His hands flew over the controls as he prepared an emergency transmission to Earth. Outside, screams mixed with the sounds of destruction. "This is Nova Prime Colony calling Earth Command. We are under attack by unknown forces. 7 ships, technology, unlike anything we've seen." They arrived without warning and began. Another blast rocked the building. Dust fell from the ceiling as warning lights flashed red. Frank knew he had seconds at most. "Send help. They're destroying everything." "I don't think anyone will." The message cut off as the room collapsed around him. Admiral Lisa Bennett was reviewing fleet deployment plans when the first distress calls arrived, not just from Nova Prime, but from every outer colony in sequence. By the time she reached the Emergency Operations Center beneath Washington, reports showed 15 colonies under simultaneous attack. "Status report," she demanded, entering the bustling command center where dozens of officers monitored screens showing the unfolding disaster. General Paul Harris turned to her, his face grim. "It's bad, Lisa. We've lost contact with most colonies already. The few images we've received show ships unlike anything in our records." On the main screen, grainy footage from Titan Colony showed black vessels firing on settlement domes. The feed ended abruptly and static. "Current casualties?" Lisa asked, dreading the answer. "Early estimates suggest at least 2 million dead, and rising." Paul's voice was flat, but Lisa knew him well enough to hear the horror behind his words. "Our response options?" "The Jupiter fleet is engaging enemies near Europa. The Mars defense. Forces mobilizing. But our ships are reporting minimal impact from conventional weapons. These aliens have shield technology that makes our best weapons nearly useless." Lisa watched the tactical display as human ships blinked out of existence one after another. This wasn't just an attack. It was extinction level. "Call the Defense Council," she said, "and get me access to Facility 0. Paul's eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious in my life," Lisa replied. "It's time to wake the giants." 3 hours later, Lisa stood before the Solar Alliance Defense Council. The 12 men and women who controlled Earth's military looked shell-shocked as they viewed footage of the attacks. "The outer colonies are lost," Lisa reported. "The enemy fleet has established orbital control and is beginning ground operations. Based on patterns of movement, we estimate Earth itself will be targeted within 2 weeks. "What do they want?" asked Counselor Ryan Baker. "Have they made any demands?" "None. They haven't responded to any communication attempts." "And our military options?" asked Counselor Diane Powell. Lisa took a deep breath. "Conventional forces are proving ineffective. The Jupiter fleet lost 60% of its ships before forcing a temporary retreat. Whatever these aliens are, they have technology at least a century beyond ours." Silence filled the room as the implications sank in. "There is one option," Lisa continued, activating a secure file on the main display. "Project Titan." Images appeared showing massive human-like figures in medical pods. Standing over 8 feet tall with enhanced musculature, they barely resembled Standard Humans, the Giants program, Counselor Powell whispered. I thought it was shut down decades ago. Development was discontinued, but the 12 successful subjects were kept in cryostasis, Lisa explained. They were designed as the ultimate soldiers, stronger, faster, and smarter than any human. Their tactical processing capabilities alone make them invaluable, not to mention their physical advantages. Those advantages are precisely why the program was terminated, Counselor Baker argued. They were too powerful, too unpredictable. Some questioned whether they were even human anymore. They are very much human, Lisa countered. Enhanced, yes, but created to protect humanity. And right now, humanity needs protection more than ever. The council debated for another hour as reports of colony massacres continued to arrive. Finally, they voted. Project Titan is authorized, the council president announced. God help us all. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eric Hammond received the authorization codes with mixed emotions. For 20 years, he had maintained the facility and its sleeping inhabitants, never expecting they would actually be needed. He stood now before the primary stasis chamber, looking at the massive figure suspended inside. Commander Samuel Wright had been the first successful giant, the template for those who followed. His detailed file listed strength 5 times human baseline, cellular regeneration that bordered on miraculous, and intelligence that scored off. Conventional charts. What the file didn't convey was Samuel's humanity, his sense of duty, his compassion, and his internal struggles with his own nature. Eric had studied all the records, the interviews before stasis, the psychological evaluations. These weren't mindless weapons. They were people. Extraordinary people created for a purpose they never asked for. Eric initiated the revival sequence for Samuel's pod. Medical systems hummed to life as the cryogenic solution drained away. Samuel's massive chest began to rise and fall with shallow breaths. I'm sorry to wake you to this, Eric said quietly, though Samuel couldn't hear him yet. But we need you, now. All of us do. On monitors above, footage showed alien ships advancing through the solar system. Earth's outer defenses were falling. Time was running out. Samuel's eyes opened, alert, aware, and instantly processing his surroundings. He was awake for the first time in 50 years. Humanity's giants had returned. They bombed Earth's colonies. Now humanity's giants are awake. Part 2. Samuel Wright sat on the edge of a reinforced bed that was finally built to his size. His large hands gripped the metal frame, bending it slightly as he adjusted to being awake. Every muscle in his 8-foot-tall body ached. 50 years of sleep had left him feeling like he was made of stone rather than flesh. How are the others? He asked Dr. Hammond, his voice deep and rough from disuse. All 12 giants are awake now, Eric replied, checking Samuel's vital signs on a tablet. Kate Foster and Alan Peterson recovered fastest. Maria Rodriguez is still having some trouble with her enhanced senses adjusting to the new environment. Samuel nodded. That made sense. Maria's eyes and ears were modified to detect things no normal human could. The modern world, with its new frequencies and materials, would be overwhelming at first. And the situation outside? How bad is it really? Samuel asked. Eric's face darkened. Worse than what they've told you. We've lost contact with 19 colonies. Over 3 million dead. The enemy, we're calling them the Vorn Collective based on fragments of intercepted communications. They're moving methodically through the solar system. Samuel stood carefully, his massive frame making the medical bay seem small. I need to see the others. Eric led him through wide corridors designed decades ago specifically for the giants. In the main hall, Samuel found his team, the only family he had ever known. Kate Foster was the first to approach him. Nearly as tall as Samuel, she moved with a fighter's grace despite her size. Her tactical mind had always been the sharpest among them. Commander? She said with a nod, her expression serious but her eyes showing relief at seeing him. Alan Peterson sat nearby, his hands busy taking apart and reassembling a modern rifle with remarkable speed as he learned its mechanics. Maria Rodriguez stood against a wall, her eyes half closed as she focused on controlling her enhanced senses in the new environment. "They want us to fight their war," Kate said quietly, "after they put us to sleep because we were too dangerous." "It's not their war," Samuel replied. "It's everyone's war now, and we were made for this." "Were we?" Alan asked without looking up from the weapon. "Were we made to be weapons pulled out when convenient, then put back in storage?" Samuel had no answer for that. The truth was they had all asked themselves the same question during their original training. What were they? Soldiers? Weapons? People? The world had decided they were too dangerous to keep around, until now when danger was exactly what was needed. "Admiral Bennett is coming to brief us at 1400 hours, Samuel finally said. "Until then, get yourselves ready. Whatever we were made for, people are dying." Admiral Lisa Bennett entered the Giants' facility with a mix of awe and fear. She had studied Project Titan, but had never seen the Giants in person. Nothing in the files prepared her for the reality of 12 super soldiers, each over 8 feet tall, watching her with intelligent eyes as she walked into their meeting room. "Thank you for coming, Admiral," Samuel said, taking charge naturally. His massive frame made the reinforced chair beneath him look like child's furniture. "Thank you for being willing to hear us out," Lisa replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I know your awakening was unexpected. You mean after you decided we were too dangerous to exist in society?" Kate said with an edge to her voice. "That was a different time and different leadership," Lisa answered carefully. "I won't pretend to defend those decisions, but right now, humanity needs you." Samuel raised a hand to quiet Kate's response. "Show us what we're facing." Lisa activated the room's display system. Images of the Vorn ships and their attacks played across the screens. The Giants watched in silence as colonies burned, and human ships were torn apart by advanced weapons. "Our conventional forces are overmatched," Lisa explained. "We've lost every direct engagement except one small victory at Europa, which only delayed their advance. At current rates, they'll reach Earth within 10 days. "What do they want?" Maria asked, her enhanced eyes picking up details in the footage others would miss. "We don't know," Lisa admitted. "They haven't responded to any communication. They simply appeared and began attacking." Samuel studied the tactical displays. "These attack patterns aren't random. They're methodical, almost surgical. They're looking for something." "Our analysis teams reached the same conclusion," Lisa said with surprise. "But we haven't determined what they're searching for." "It doesn't matter right now," Samuel replied. "What matters is stopping them. What resources do we have?" The conversation turned to military assets, and for the next hour, they developed preliminary strategies. The Giants processed information with remarkable speed, spotting patterns and possibilities others had missed. "We need to get to Europa," Samuel finally said. "Your forces held them there briefly. There's something about that moon that matters to them, and we need to see these Vorn up close." 3 days later, a specially modified transport ship approached Europa. Inside, Samuel and 3 other Giants prepared for their first combat in 50 years. They wore custom armor created by Earth's best engineers to fit their massive frames. "Approaching drop zone," the pilot announced. "Enemy ships detected on the far side of Europa." Samuel checked his team one last time. Kate, Alan, and Maria were ready, their enhanced bodies and minds focused on the mission ahead. "Remember," Samuel told them, "this isn't just about fighting. We need information. What are they, what do they want, and how do we stop them?" The ship descended toward a research outpost that had gone silent 2 days earlier. As they touched down, sensors detected movement inside the damaged facility. "Life signs?" Samuel asked. "Unclear," the ship's systems responded. "But something's moving in there." The 4 Giants moved toward the airlock. Their enhanced muscles made the heavy suits feel weightless despite Europa's gravity. "Stay together," Samuel ordered. "We have no idea what we're walking into." The outer door opened, revealing Europa's icy surface. In the distance, the massive form of Jupiter filled the sky. It would have been beautiful if not for the destruction around them. The research outpost was half destroyed, with sections exposed to the vacuum of space. They moved through the ruins carefully, their enhanced senses alert for any threat. Inside what remained of the main laboratory, they found their answer. The Vorn were not what anyone expected. Standing 7 feet tall with gray skin that seemed to shift and change like liquid metal, the aliens were collecting samples from frozen human remains. They moved with precision that suggested intelligence beyond mere instinct. Before the giants could react, one of the Vorn looked up directly at them. Its face had no recognizable features except for 3 glowing eyes that blinked in sequence. It made a sound, a high-pitched series of clicks, and suddenly all the Vorn turned toward the giants. "I think we've been noticed," Alan said, raising his weapon. The Vorn nearest to them raised its arm, which transformed into something that looked like a weapon. In that moment, Samuel realized why humanity needed the giants. These weren't just technologically advanced aliens. They were physically transforming beings with capabilities beyond normal human response. The first blast hit Samuel directly in the chest, knocking him backward. The fight for Europa had begun. They bombed Earth's colonies. Now humanity's giants are awake. Part 3. The blast that hit Samuel's chest would have killed a normal human instantly. Even with his enhanced body and specialized armor, the impact sent him flying back 10 feet into a wall. But instead of staying down, Samuel rose to his feet, his accelerated healing already repairing the damage. "Spread out," he ordered, as the other giants moved into defensive positions. Kate fired her heavy rifle, the round striking a Vorn squarely in what seemed to be its head. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Its liquid metal skin rippled, absorbing or redirecting the damage. "Conventional weapons aren't very effective," Alan called out, switching to an experimental pulse rifle. Trying electromagnetic disruption. His next shot emitted a blue pulse that hit a Vorn and caused its form to waver visibly. The alien made a high-pitched sound that might have been pain. "That works better," Alan said. Their bodies seemed to rely on some kind of electromagnetic cohesion. Maria moved with blinding speed, flanking the group of Vorn. Her enhanced senses had already mapped the room and identified a pattern to the aliens' movements. "They're protecting something in the back lab," she reported through their comm system. "Something they're collecting." Samuel pushed forward, absorbing another blast from a Vorn weapon. His massive fists connected with the nearest alien, driving it back. Unlike regular humans, the giants could match the Vorn in physical strength. The battle moved through the ruined laboratory in a blur of motion. 4 giants against 7 Vorn, neither side willing to retreat. Regular human soldiers would have been overwhelmed in seconds, but the giants were holding their own. Alan's pulse weapon proved most effective, disrupting the Vorn's ability to maintain their cohesive form. After he disabled 2 aliens, the remaining Vorn retreated toward the back of the lab, sealing a heavy door behind them. "We need to see what they're protecting," Samuel said, moving to the door and applying his enormous strength. The metal groaned but held firm. Kate joined him, and together their enhanced muscles strained against the barrier. Slowly, the door began to give way. With a final push, they tore it open. Inside, they found what the Vorn had been collecting. Dozens of containers lined the walls, each holding human tissue samples. Blood, organs, and other biological materials were carefully preserved and labeled. "They're harvesting us," Kate said, her voice filled with disgust. "Like we're just resources to be collected." Maria examined one of the containers. "These are all marked with genetic identifiers. They're selecting specific genetic traits." Single Vorn remained in the room, working at a console. When it saw the giants, it made no move to attack. Instead, it pressed a sequence of controls, and a holographic display appeared above the central table. Images of human DNA strands rotated in the air, with certain sections highlighted. The Vorn pointed at these sections and then at itself, making that same clicking sound they'd heard before. "I think it's trying to communicate," Samuel said, lowering his weapon slightly. The alien continued its display, showing human DNA and then its own molecular structure, highlighting similarities that shouldn't exist between species from different worlds. "It's saying they're connected to us somehow," Alan suggested, his scientific background helping him interpret the images. Or they want something in our genetic code. Before they could learn more, an explosion rocked the facility. The Vorn ship outside had begun firing on the laboratory. "They're destroying the evidence," Kate said. "We need to capture this one alive. It's trying to tell us something." Samuel grabbed the Vorn, which struggled but couldn't match his strength. "We're leaving now, back to the ship." The giants retreated through the crumbling facility, Samuel carrying the alien while the others provided cover. As they reached their transport, the entire research station collapsed behind them. "Take off immediately," Samuel ordered the pilot as they secured the Vorn prisoner. The ship lifted off Europa's surface just as the Vorn vessels appeared over the horizon, their weapons charging. "They really don't want us talking to this one," Kate observed as their ship accelerated away. Back on Earth, Admiral Bennett couldn't believe the report she was hearing. "You captured one alive?" she asked, staring at the secure video feed from the giant's transport. "It was trying to communicate," Samuel explained, "showing us something about human DNA. I believe this one might be different from the others." "Different? How?" "It was working separately, and it seemed desperate to show us something before the others destroyed the facility." Lisa considered this information carefully. "Bring it to Facility 0. Maximum security. We need to understand what it was trying to tell you." As the transport headed back to Earth, scientists on the ground made their own discovery. Dr. Olivia Clark had been examining data from previous Vorn attacks when she noticed a pattern. "Admiral, you need to see this," Olivia said, entering the command center with her research team. "The Vorn aren't attacking randomly. They're specifically targeting colonies with certain population demographics." Lisa studied the data on the screen. "What demographics?" "Genetic diversity," Olivia explained. "The colonies hit first had the highest genetic variation among their populations. They're not just attacking us, they're shopping for genetic material." This new information, combined with what the giants had discovered on Europa, painted a disturbing picture. The Vorn weren't simply invaders, they were harvesting humanity for something in their genetic code. The captured Vorn was placed in a specialized containment chamber at Facility 0. Its liquid metal body flowed against the transparent walls, searching for weaknesses, but finding none. Samuel watched from outside, studying the alien carefully. "How do we communicate with it?" Dr. Hammond approached with a team of linguists and xenobiologists. "We've been developing a translation system based on the limited sounds they make. It's primitive, but it might help." They activated the system, which converted the Vorn's clicking sounds into rough approximations of human language. At first, the translations made no sense, random words and phrases, but slowly, patterns emerged. "Danger, coming, need, humans," the translation system interpreted. "What danger?" Samuel asked. The Vorn pressed against the glass, its three eyes blinking rapidly. "Others, take, consume, different." "Why, are you different?" Samuel pressed. "I remember, before, we were like you, once." This revelation stunned everyone in the room. The alien was claiming some ancient connection between Vorn and humans. Before they could learn more, alarms blared throughout the facility. On the main monitor, satellite imagery showed a massive Vorn fleet approaching Mars. "They're moving faster than we predicted," Admiral Bennett said as she rushed into the room. "They'll reach Mars within hours, and after that, Earth," Samuel finished. "We need to stop them at Mars. It's our last chance to keep them from reaching home." As the giants prepared for their next mission, Samuel looked back at the contained Vorn. Its three eyes watched him with what seemed like desperation. "We need a plan," Samuel told Admiral Bennett, "and I think this one might be key to finding it." With Mars about to fall and Earth directly in the path of the invasion, humanity's giants faced their greatest challenge yet. The counter-offensive would begin, ready or not. They bombed Earth's colonies. Now humanity's giants are awake. Part 4. The plan to defend Mars came together quickly. While Earth forces prepared for a direct confrontation with the approaching Vorn fleet, Samuel proposed a more daring strategy. We too don't have the numbers or technology to beat them in open combat, he explained to Admiral Bennett and the Defense Council. But we have something they don't expect. Us. His plan was bold. While Earth forces engaged the Vorn in a conventional battle near Phobos, Mars's larger moon, a small team of giants would infiltrate the Vorn flagship. Their captive Vorn, whom they now called Messenger, had revealed critical information about the aliens' command structure. They operate as a collective mind, Samuel explained, pointing to the tactical display. Regional Queen's control drone, ships, but the entire invasion force follows commands from a central overseer on their flagship. Kate nodded in agreement. Disrupt the overseer, disrupt the entire attack. The council members looked skeptical. And you trust this alien's information? Counselor Powell asked. Messenger has helped us understand their technology, Samuel replied. Dr. Clark has already used its knowledge to develop a weapon that affects their neural network. Dr. Olivia Clark stepped forward, holding a small device. It's a virus, essentially. It disrupts the electromagnetic fields that allow the Vorn to maintain their form and communicate. Not lethal on its own, but it will significantly impair them. The catch is, Samuel continued, it must be delivered directly to their flagship's central processing core. A suicide mission, Admiral Bennett said quietly. Samuel met her gaze steadily. We were created for missions others couldn't survive. After hours of debate, the Council approved the plan. Earth would commit its remaining fleets to the defense of Mars, while Samuel's team would attempt the infiltration. The battle for Mars began at dawn Earth time. The skies above the red planet filled with flashes of weapons fire as human ships engaged the much larger Vorn fleet. From the command ship, Admiral Bennett watched the confrontation with grim determination. Status on the Giants' infiltration team? She asked her communications officer. They've launched from the dark side of Deimos, came the reply. Approaching the Vorn formation now. Samuel, Kate, Maria, and Alan piloted a small craft that had been modified with technology derived from studying the captured Vorn. Its hull now mimicked the electromagnetic signature of Vorn vessels, allowing them to approach undetected amid the chaos of battle. We're entering their formation, Maria reported, her enhanced senses monitoring the space around them. No sign they've detected us yet. As they navigated through the Vorn fleet, they witnessed the brutal efficiency of the alien attack. Human ships fought bravely but were being overwhelmed by superior technology. This has to work, Kate said softly. There won't be another chance. Their small ship approached the massive Vorn flagship, a vessel 4 times larger than Earth's biggest carrier. Using information from Messenger, they located a maintenance access point near the ship's lower hull. Prepare for boarding, Samuel ordered, checking his weapon one last time. Remember, our goal is the central core. We plant Dr. Clark's device and get out. The Giants donned specialized spacesuits designed for their massive frames and prepared to cross open space to the Vorn ship. Each carried weapons designed by Alan using knowledge gained from their captive. 30 seconds, Alan announced as their ship matched velocity with the flagship. Samuel looked at his team, the family he had known for over 50 years, though most of that time they had been asleep. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. For Earth, he said simply. They launched themselves from their ship, crossing the void to the Vorn vessel. Using magnetic clamps, they secured themselves to the hull, and Alan began cutting through with a specialized tool. Within minutes, they had created an opening large enough for their massive frames to enter. Inside, the Vorn ship was unlike anything they had expected. The corridor seemed alive, pulsing with the same liquid metal substance that made up the aliens' bodies. The floor, walls, and ceiling flowed together seamlessly. It's organic, Alan whispered. The entire ship is alive. They moved carefully, through the strange environment, following Messenger's directions toward the central core. Occasionally they encountered Vorn drones, which they disabled using their specialized weapons. Each confrontation was swift and silent. As they progressed deeper into the ship, Kate suddenly stumbled, clutching her side. Are you hit? Samuel asked, moving to support her. She shook her head. It's not from combat. Something's wrong inside me. She pulled her hand away, revealing a strange blue fluid seeping through her suit where there should have been blood. Alan scanned her with a medical device. It's the failsafe, he said grimly. Samuel felt a chill. The giants had been created, with biological failsafes, mechanisms designed to prevent their capture and study by enemy forces. If severely damaged or if certain physiological thresholds were crossed, their bodies would begin to break down. How long? Samuel asked. Hours at most, Alan replied. The cellular degradation is accelerating. Kate straightened, pushing away, Samuel's supporting arm. Long enough to finish the mission, let's move. They continued through the ship, pressing deeper toward its heart. Along the way, they discovered holding areas filled with captured humans, colonists being processed for genetic harvesting. The sight strengthened their resolve. We need to free them, Maria said. The mission comes first, Samuel reminded her. If we succeed, we save everyone. If we fail trying to save a few. They eventually reached a vast chamber at the center of the ship. Suspended in the middle was a pulsing mass of the liquid metal, substance but far more complex and active than the Vorn drones they had encountered. The Queen, Samuel said, recognizing the description Messenger had given them. Before they could approach with the device, the Queen's form shifted. 3 enormous eyes opened, focusing directly on them. A voice filled their minds, bypassing their communication systems. The altered humans, the voice said. We have been expecting you. Samuel stepped forward. Then you know why we're here. To stop us, the Queen replied. But you cannot understand what is at stake. We do not harvest for pleasure or conquest. Then why? Samuel demanded. The Queen's form rippled, and suddenly the chamber filled with holographic images, showing the Vorn homeworld dying, their species degrading genetically over generations. Survival, the Queen explained. Your species carries what we have lost, genetic adaptability, the building blocks we need to save ourselves from extinction. By killing millions of us? Kate challenged. Her voice strained as she fought against her failing body. A necessary sacrifice, the Queen responded. One species for another. Samuel stared at the alien Queen, understanding finally dawning. Messenger said you were once like us. You've done this before to other species. Many times, the Queen acknowledged. It is our way. Samuel reached for the device, but before he could activate it, the Queen struck. Tendrils of liquid metal shot out, wrapping around each of the giants. Kate, already weakened, could not break free. The others struggled against bonds that seemed to grow stronger with each movement. Your kind are impressive, the Queen said. Perhaps the most valuable genetic material we have found in centuries. You will be studied most carefully. As the tendrils began to drag them toward processing chambers, Samuel looked at his team. They had come so close, only to fail at the final moment. Earth would fall just as the colonies had, unless they could find another way. They bombed Earth's colonies. Now humanity's giants are awake. Part 5. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a strange noise echoed through the chamber. The Queen's massive form suddenly rippled in what appeared to be pain. The metal tendrils, holding the giants, loosened slightly. What is happening? The Queen's voice boomed in their minds, but now it sounded confused. Through the entrance to the chamber came another Vorn. Its liquid metal body moved differently from the others, more deliberately, almost human-like in its movements. Messenger, Samuel said in surprise. The escaped Vorn had somehow followed them to the flagship. It approached rapidly, its 3 eyes blinking in that now familiar pattern. The Queen's form shifted toward the newcomer. Traitor, the Queen hissed mentally. Defective unit. Messenger made no response, but instead touched the wall of the chamber. Instantly, the entire room shuddered. The ship's organic systems responded to Messenger's touch, creating a disruption in the Queen's control. The giants seized their opportunity. With supreme effort, they broke free from the weakened tendrils. Samuel immediately moved to Kate, who could barely stand now as the failsafe, continued to break down her enhanced body. "The device," she reminded him, pressing Dr. Clark's creation into his hand. Samuel nodded and turned toward the Queen, who was focused on battling Messenger's intrusion into the ship's systems. He approached the central mass of the Queen's form. "Device ready." "Wait," Maria called out, studying the scene before them. "Look at what Messenger is doing." The rebel Vorn wasn't just fighting the Queen. It was communicating with the ship in some fundamental way. Patterns of light flowed from Messenger's touch throughout the chamber. "It's changing the commands," Alan realized, his scientific mind grasping the situation. "Not destroying the network, reprogramming it." Samuel hesitated, the device still in his hand. Their original plan had been simple destruction, but Messenger was attempting something more complex. On the Queen's massive form, the three eyes widened in what looked like fear. "No," her voice echoed in their minds. "The old ways are forbidden. The consensus decided." Messenger turned one eye toward the giants while maintaining contact with the ship. Its clicking sounds came rapidly, and though they had no translator, the meaning was clear. It needed time. "Cover him," Samuel ordered. "Whatever he's doing, the Queen doesn't like it." The giants formed a protective circle around Messenger as more Vorn drones entered the chamber, responding to the Queen's distress. The battle was brief but intense. Even weakened, the giants were formidable fighters. Their enhanced bodies and tactical minds made them far deadlier than ordinary humans. Kate fought despite her failing body, each movement clearly causing her pain. When she stumbled, Alan was there to support her. "Almost done," she said through gritted teeth. "Make it count." Suddenly the ship shuddered violently. Throughout the chamber, displays activated showing scenes from across the solar system. The Vorn fleet had stopped attacking. Vessels hung motionless in space. "What's happening?" Maria asked. "Messenger is taking control," Samuel realized. "He's overriding the Overseer's commands." The Queen's form began to collapse, her control over, the flagship weakening. "This will mean extinction for us all," she warned. "The old ways were abandoned because they failed." Messenger finally released its connection to the ship and turned to face the giants. Using gestures and its limited clicks, it tried to communicate. Samuel studied the displays around them, beginning to understand. "It's offering an alternative," he said. "Not harvesting, but cooperation." Alan nodded. "Symbiosis instead of parasitism. Messenger believes there's another way for the Vorn to survive without destroying other species." The Queen's form rippled in what might have been laughter. "The old ways failed us before. Our consensus chose this path." "But you're just one faction, aren't you?" Samuel asked, pieces falling into place. "Messenger represents others who disagree." Before the Queen could respond, Kate collapsed. The failsafe had progressed too far. Her enhanced body, designed to be the ultimate weapon, was now destroying itself from within. "We need to get her back to Earth," Alan said urgently. "Dr. Hammond might be able to stop the process." Samuel faced a terrible choice. They could use the device as planned, potentially destroying the Vorn network entirely, or trust Messenger's alternative, a risky gamble with Earth's future. Kate looked up at Samuel through pain-clouded eyes. "What would you choose if you weren't a weapon?" she asked softly. Samuel stared at her, then at Messenger, then at the slowly dissolving form of the Queen. He had been created as a weapon. They all had been. But perhaps they could be something more. "The device," he said finally, handing it to Messenger. "Can you modify it, not to destroy but to support your new commands?" The alien's eyes blinked rapidly in what seemed like agreement. It took the device and merged it partially with its own form, modifying the technology. When it returned the device, it had changed. "I'm trusting you," Samuel told Messenger. "Don't make me regret it." He placed the modified device into the core of the ship's system. Immediately, pulses of energy spread throughout the chamber and beyond into the fleet. "Get Kate to the ship," Samuel ordered Maria and Alan. "I'll finish here." As they carried their failing comrade away, Samuel remained with Messenger, watching as the modified virus spread through the Vorn network. Unlike their original plan, this version didn't destroy the collective mind. It offered choice, the ability for individual Vorn to reject the Overseer's commands. Throughout the system, Vorn ships began to power down their weapons. The collective was fragmenting as individual members chose sides. "Will it be enough?" Samuel asked Messenger. The alien made a simple gesture that needed no translation. Hope. 1 month later, Samuel stood before the rebuilt Defense Council on Earth. The Vorn crisis had transformed into something no one had expected, a civil conflict among the aliens themselves, with Messenger's faction seeking peace and cooperation with humans. "The fighting continues in the outer system," Samuel reported. "But Messenger's faction grows stronger each day. They offer genetic exchange that benefits both species without harvesting or destruction." "And Kate?" Admiral Bennett asked gently. Samuel's expression hardened. She chose to stay on the Vorn flagship. The failsafe had progressed too far for Dr. Hammond to reverse it, but Messenger's people found another solution. On a display behind him appeared an image that stunned the council, Kate's consciousness, preserved within a new form. Not fully human, not fully Vorn, but something in between. The first true bridge between species. "She made her choice," Samuel said, "to become something new." As humanity began the long process of rebuilding its colonies and establishing cautious relations with Messenger's faction, the Giants found themselves in an unexpected position, not weapons of last resort, but ambassadors to a new future. Samuel looked out at the stars from the observation deck. For the first time since awakening, he wasn't planning battles or strategies. He was simply wondering what came next. A world that had once feared the Giants now needed them more than ever. And Samuel, created to be the perfect weapon, found himself becoming something his creators never intended, a builder of peace. Outside, Earth turned slowly against the backdrop of stars, its remaining colonies beginning to shine once more with human life. And beyond, in the darkness between worlds, new possibilities awaited.